my friend. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Todd?
Oh, busy, my friend. What do you have to say that's going on? I got a lot of video, a lot of tapes, a lot of screenshots that you sent me, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we definitely want to update on Ukraine, but I'm glad you brought up Venezuela.
Mhm.
And I would just say this on Venezuela, and it's constructive toward this new administration.
Mhm.
Pete Hegseth specifically here. You know, first off, it's a one-off thing. If you polled every American, there's not. I'm pretty confident not one American's going to say the thing they're most concerned about is Venezuela.
Yeah.
In fact, you may not get that in the first 100 things any American is concerned with. So, what does that tell us? That tells us that there's national interests. There's no connection to national interests with Venezuela. And so what the heck are we doing? Where is the logic of
Yeah.
why is Hegseth not building at least incrementally? Why are we not doing press conferences saying we want to give you a little bit that we can right now about why we're doing this, and then show maybe there's a rat line for this fentanyl connection that's so well established that if you take this rat line out, we know for sure we're going to cut off 60% of the fentanyl that comes in through Mexico, something like that. So that that would provide some support, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
And for those of us who've worked extensively in Latin America, you brought up Colombia. I have over a
Mhm.
year in Colombia. I
Mhm.
love Colombia. I love the Colombians. We There's no appetite in Latin America for American military. They still like America, and we have relationships, military relationships with most of those countries down there, strong
Mhm.
ones, thanks to the Special Forces guys, Seventh
Yeah.
Group. But they have no tolerance for a more American military. It's ingrained in their heads. Remember, Panama, Colombia, Nicaragua, Honduras.
You know,
We've got a long
all the banana wars, man, in the past
Right.
over the
We've
last
got a
30
long track
years.
record and it's not good. So, going down there with military might and just blowing boats out of the water. Again, I'm being constructive here. They need to explain the logic of why any of this makes sense, and that needs to include how this can possibly be on even on the screen right now with all the other things, and specifically what we're going to talk about in Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's earth changing, life ending potential, and I don't see anything close to that in Venezuela.
Well, as I mentioned, I was talking to a guy who's very connected to the Colombian military, and what I didn't realize is that there's a mountain chain that connects Colombia and Venezuela, and that the
Oh
two
yeah,
nations are very much connected. And the military down there, as I mentioned, has a long history of fighting in that area, and they're very well versed in that type of fighting. And this is forcing those two nations kind of together and against the United States politically.
yeah.
So,
That's going to be a tough stretch though. They hate each other.
mm,
They've almost gone to war on that border, the Colombian Venezuelan border. Uh, so there's no love lost. Colombia is a mess right now. They've got one of these socialist leftists, stole the election presidents. He's a nut job. They hate him.
mhm.
Just like we say this about every country that has one of these, and it's all of Europe. We don't, it's not the people. We're not disparaging the people, the country, but the leader. We've already lived through it. We had Joe Biden in the Biden administration, and we were trapped for 4 years. And people who were swearing about our country, we were, agreeing in that sense because a lot of the things happening were under the table and had no logic to them, like starting the Ukraine war, which the Obama and Biden administrations did, and then made it much, much worse by paying off the neo Nazis and allowing what happened, the Civil War and the 14,000 ethnic Russians killed. So, all this ties in together in
Yeah.
priorities. but it comes back to Ukraine. So let's go to Ukraine and
Well, let
start
me
talking
say just
about
one
it.
more thing on LATAM, but the agenda is what I want to know. It's either the oil, it's yes, they messed with our elections, maybe that's it. It's stopping the human trafficking, maybe that's it.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things that it could be, but I totally agree with you. It has to be explained better.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
Hegseth needs to get that in his DNA, man, because
yeah,
it's the what 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? That song should be sung every time we go to combat because you
yeah,
have to say it. And to guys like Hegseth, you're not just telling the people, you're telling those military guys. Many
yes,
of whom are going to be dying in accidents
yes,
and friendly fire and stuff like that. They're going to lay their lives down, and you need to explain to them the logic of why, because, and I'll tell you this from a military perspective, there's no
hmm
military guys going, man, I hope we go invade. Well, there probably are some, but there's very few. No one knows what the heck we're doing or why it makes any sense right now.
completely agree. All right, let's move to Ukraine. So I have a video you wanted to talk about from Pokrovsk. Should I bring that up with the guys coming
Yeah,
in?
well,
Yeah,
first, just before we get
yeah,
to that,
yeah,
just to update everyone, if because the global media is hidden it, there's a huge corruption scandal going
yeah.
on right now in Ukraine. Okay, and that's driving a lot of things. And just a little background, and I don't know if you have anything there, Todd, but I've got just a little background
Sure.
on what's going on. It's an energy crisis. Uh, Big surprise. Biden was part of this corrupt industry, which is the tip of the spear of corruption in Ukraine. And what's happened? Everyone's heard of NABU. It's the National Anti-Corruption Bureau in Ukraine, created by the EU to overwatch, but they have been ignoring them. They spent the last 15 months investigating uh, this company, which is a gas company, and they over 1,000 hours, and they found that the name of the company is Energodom, that they've been paying 10 to 15% bribes to government officials, and so far they've been able to track a minimum of $100 million in bribes. And the ringleader of this group, a guy named Timur Mindich, is a longtime associate, some would say closest associate and sponsor of Zelensky. He's the
hmm
co-owner of his former production studio. Remember, this is our actor comedian, and
Yeah.
he still uses that production studio for everything. And guess what? Mindich fled Ukraine early Monday, hours before the NABU investigators raided his home.
And he's in
So
Israel, from what I understand.
he's in Israel. Okay.
hmm hmm
So Zelensky, to escape guilt by association, decided I need to go to Europe. So yesterday and the day before, he was in Greece. He's been in France. He's in Germany. And you can see what he's doing. He's trying to break that guilt by association, get
hmm
away from it's all of his associates, all of his closest associates have been named already. So it's
There's
the
no way he wasn't involved in that.
exactly.
hmm
So he leaves the country again. Remember last episode we talked. He's been out of Ukraine more than he's been in for the last 6 months. But wait till we're talking about what we're about to talk about, which is battlefield. He's
Yeah.
gone, and so these Euro globalist leaders, and Trump should be looking at this. What are they doing? They all changed their schedules, dropped what they're doing, and each of them are going to entertain Zelensky for no reason, no agenda over the next few days. This all part of the strategy to somehow bury this, make people forget, allow Zelensky to survive, be the tyrant leader of Ukraine for another day. So that's the political thing that's going on. Now you can put
Well, I
um,
jump in there real quick and
that
just give
video up.
our viewers, I want to give our viewers just a taste of, so they understand where we're coming from. CDM, if you go to the top menu to Ukraine files, you can bring this up. It's kind of a lot of our research and investigations in Ukraine from 2019 on. We were very involved there, and were deplatformed heavily because of our reporting on Ukraine. And it's not just that there's corruption; is that they were running operations against American politicians like Bernie Sanders and then Donald Trump, and just grifting money out the wazoo. I ended up testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee on this. With the source, and there is a story on there that a lot of these sources were brought to the DOJ in LA in 2019 and told them all of this, and it was all hushed up. So there's a lot on Ukraine that's been bubbling, and my theory is, and by the way, I met with Nabu. In a quick story, I had just met with them in 2015, and I came back or 2016, and then the Paul Manafort story came out on the Black Ledger, and that got him kicked off the Trump campaign. And I called Svetlana, the person who was running their PR, and I said, "What about this?" And she says, "Oh, that's not real. We just pulled it off the internet." I mean, she told me that directly. So they've been messing with our elections for a long time. I think this release, Pete, may get your thoughts. Maybe it's just they want to get rid of Zelensky, so this is starting to come out. I mean, they've known this for years, right?
Yeah, I mean, they knew it. This is the same thing that when he tried to dismantle Nabu about 6 months ago. Remember that? It was a minor crisis. EU protested. Then they swept that one under the rug. This is the same gold toilet. That's why it's Operation Midas, something Midas touch. It's the same thing. But you just hit on, another example of what our, kind of theory is, that Ukraine is the global center of the censorship industrial complex. That's where the servers are. That's where the worker bees are. Ukraine's always been cutting edge, internet hacking, all that stuff, like the U.S. has too. They have great engineers. And of course, it's a money-making scheme. But all of that example, and you're right, CDM was on the cutting edge of it all the way back in 19. But that's the story, and that's what's driving behaviors right now.
All right, so I'll play this video, and then you can talk about it and tell us.
Yeah, it's a great video. You've seen it around, but go ahead and play it. So I'll just narrate while he's playing it. What you see is common sense warfare, light and lethal. These guys are not on parade. They're not driving by for a social media shot. These guys are coming in out of the bush. And the thing that's kind of interesting, and the reason I wanted our viewers to see it, is you can leave it up in a still format. It's just like when you saw the guys coming out of a few months after 9/11 in Afghanistan with the long hair, the beards, the Afghan clothing. That wasn't a new form of warfare. That was a reflection of the war that's being fought right then. But it was a reflection only because those special op guys had been left to their own devices. The C2 system had been broken. There were 500 special operators on the ground in Afghanistan with no command and control headquarters element on the ground. And so we were free to learn about the battlefield and adapt accordingly. And, for all you infantrymen out there, Marines, Rangers, these guys, this is what you would look like if your team was free to learn and adapt on the battlefield. And learn means you learn what works and what doesn't. It's a constant process. And then adapt means you change accordingly. You got to be able to go, man, this thing's way better. Toss the old thing and use the new one. And so you're seeing a reflection of that. The Russians have been allowed to experiment. They've been allowed to learn to adapt. And just again, we can learn from every war, every fighting force. And this is a positive lesson learned for any military. This is the key to success. You have to allow your guys freedom to learn to adapt.
Well, and you saw the other side that trying to mock this, and they don't really understand what you were saying, right? Oh, they're on bikes and go-karts and whatever.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to show this. So I want to talk at that level next.
Yeah.
They say, Todd, necessity is the mother of invention, but they also say that curiosity is the father, and
Hmm.
curiosity needs another human behavior to set it free, and that's trust. And the men on the ground have to be listened to and trusted. And we've talked a lot about that. And, I feel for the Ukrainian soldiers because they're living and fighting under a system that does not allow that.
Yeah.
It's a unbelievably autocratic top-down system, and you can't do these simple little things. You can't learn to adapt. Ukrainians have done that. Now, in this sense, as I'm about to get to, they haven't been able to do it as much, and that's part of their own decision making too, their command decision making. They've been fighting a rigid positional warfare strategy while the Russians have been firing this flexible, adaptive attrition warfare strategy. So back to the picture, everything you saw in that picture and everything you see is everything they're riding on has a combat purpose, and that's no matter what service you're in, that's the way you always want to be in a combat zone. Everything on you has a function, and if it doesn't, you toss it.
Mm.
So all the variances in uniform and equipment that these pundits have been mocking, and this tape is, you were right, was mocked heavily by the left and by the globalists. But that's exactly what is required for success in warfare. Every soldier's a different size. Almost every soldier has a different role on their team. So you have personal ergonomics that matter. You can't reach, for another magazine. Some people, if their body can't get around the magazine's,
Yeah.
forward position. And again, this is why the guys on the ground have to be empowered with knowledge, that's intelligence, and enabled with freedom to learn and adapt. And if you do this, you guys have a good chance, as good a chance as possible of accomplishing their purpose. So again, all the futurists like to talk about the Ukraine war being a new form of warfare, but you won't hear that from infantry veterans. And I think even if we could find a couple of living World War II veterans, they would tell us the same thing, that technology is always going to change. But
Yeah.
competency at shooting, moving, and communicating remain essential and prominent. And you can't get there if you don't allow your guys to learn how to shoot, move, and communicate in that particular battle zone.
So, just an aside, I could always tell Pete when my customer in the back was one of your old friends or a team, because let's put it in air quotes, the relaxed grooming standards, put
Yeah.
hair and all that stuff.
So if I had Petraeus's first comments about the Ukraine war from 2022, he said it'll be over in a year. Russia's a weak, non-combat capable military. And his first thing was their uniforms never match. They have no uniformity.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you, my favorite general was Ulysses S. Grant, my famous historian. And Grant hated uniforms. And think about it, especially in the Civil War, they were wearing those wool, thick, they
Yeah.
were not flexible. They were actually thick because they were made for summer and winter. He hated uniforms. He hated decorum and protocol. He thought the military should be about war fighting, and that stuff will sort itself out. I believe the same thing. So when Petraeus said that, I was like, you fool, man. What you're seeing, first off, the Russians have a different military than any military. It's much more ethnically diverse. So you're going to get, a much more ethnically diverse military that is different sizes, has different customs. But
Mm-hmm.
Russia's always been that way. They've always been, hey, what if you want to modify your kit, go ahead. And there's something to be said for that. And like you said, that's if special ops do it, the reason for that is because it's common sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a bunch of brand new privates. I know they don't know what to wear, but that's the exception to the rule. Most guys in the military, America has a professional military. Most of our guys know what they're doing. And
Yeah.
if you don't, just do the same thing your team leader or squad leader does.
Exactly.
So same thing, like people were mocking their vehicles, but those vehicles are designed for one thing: rapid transit and good gas mileage. So they have no doors, and that's so
Mhm.
the operators can dive out when drones dive bomb them. They have holes cut in their roof because now you don't do anything without an always on air guard in
Yeah.
Ukraine. So someone at night, there's a machine gun with a thermal sight and tracers loaded in. In day, you have that machine gun with thermal sight, plus you have a shotgun. And there is someone always on aerial security,
For the
whether
drone
you're
threat is what you're saying.
right,
Yeah.
right. The dirt bikes are both for seizing a foothold and exploiting opportunities. Each of those bikes can carry two soldiers with equipment at high speeds. And that's important because you have to cross these large open danger areas. Anyone who's looked at a Ukraine map knows Ukraine is just a checkerboard of farm fields with
Mhm.
tree line borders. So
Mhm.
those bikes get you across the field, get you to the tree line in a rapid way, but they allow the process that's being repeated thousands of times over is the same. A couple of bikes with 2 to 4 guys on it. Uh, After doing recon with a drone, move forward to gain a foothold on a tree line position or on the edge of a town. They gain that foothold. They take one house, one basement, and then they call back to their commanders. And depending on the situation, the commander will either have them sit in place and continue to watch and listen. So he's got eyes and ears at that breach point, at that foothold, or he'll begin exploiting it because now they know the pathway is clear. You can drive full speed with
Mhm.
these vehicles, these souped up vehicles, torn down, souped up vehicles, and then get to that position and begin exploiting it. So everything is done in these tiny, small unit, and that's not even a squad, two-man teams to get footholds and then exploit the footholds. Very careful not to. There's no meat grinder. There's no human wave attacks. You'll hear Hodges and the rest of them talk about that. That is not happening anywhere on the battlefield. The Russians are very circumspect about casualties. Um, but again, the Russians are learning from the battle, and you learn more in the area of adaptive nimbleness when you're on the offense than the defense, because in the defense you're stuck just sitting there. Um, so I also want to point out in the picture you saw the drone sitting down on the road,
Mhm.
and that wasn't there to be part of the picture. That's one of their recce drones. So even in fog, that drone can still be flown. 10 feet off the road, ahead of them, a few kilometers, as a security pathfinder to make sure the route's clear so they can move at a higher rate of speed. And then those drones can also set down once they stop. They can reposition them on their left and right flank security. They can either be flying or sitting down because down they save on power, but the camera stays on. I point that out because these are the real advances in drone technology. Not what someone might think they fly a little faster or higher. These are the advances, the operationalizing of the drones. And the Russians have highly refined this ability. The Ukrainians have too, but they don't have the opportunity because they're not moving like this.
Mhm.
They're stuck in these static positions. So they've got drones up to look, drones up to hunt. They're not integrated. The Russians, these drones are integrated at this two-man level, that there's a drone operator with that team in this group right here, and one of those vehicles is probably full of spare drone equipment and batteries. So right now every country in the world, including the US, is trying to emulate this capability and the tech advancements. And every country, US included, has made this fundamental error of announcing that of announcement of how they're going to do it that I believe will prevent them from achieving it. And that's the US just announced, as an example, a million drone goal. and a new command to oversee drone operations. And this is the fatal flaw, that negates any potential for maximizing drone technology. But the question's always asked when you criticize something like course of action, what's the alternative? Well, the answer is just use common sense. There's no need for a new command. There's no need for a new general officer in charge. Simply integrate the new effort with the infantry across the Army and the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is simple. Infantry tactics must pivot right now to include drone integration for both offensive and defensive uses. So all our infantry ground troops need to be on the cutting edge as the research and developers, and they can do it while they train. So if we think of our infantrymen as our research scientists, it's better to have lots of scientists who create lots of diverse solutions.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke, I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
And test them simultaneously without prejudice. And that's the other beauty of it. These guys' lives, they know their lives depend on this technology. So they're going to give you honest, in-your-face feedback. As opposed to you put this in a command, you're going to have vendors, kickbacks, promotion, trying to curry favor with the person who rates you instead of doing the right thing for the drones. So cheaper, faster, better. Pete Hegseth, don't make the mistake of creating a drone command, putting a general officer. Do it the normal way we do it off the shelf, but use your infantry and Marines to test the technology, to be the cutting edge, and you get 2 for 1 at the same time.
So I saw something where the Army, and this was encouraging, I thought, was putting up like a store where you could buy any kind of parts you wanted and develop your own stuff as a unit. I mean, I think that's probably smart. What do you think?
I do too. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I've got a lot here. So I've got this other video.
Yeah, let's go through some of these because they're all good. So
this is Build talking about how Ukraine is moving to a strategic defeat.
Yeah, so you are seeing, I wanted our viewers to see this. You are seeing, even in countries like Germany, realists are peeking their head above, above the machine gun fire from the leftists to just say the truth. And this is all over. You're even hearing it in Ukraine. Some of the far right are saying it. They're like, hey, something's got to happen. We're losing this, and it's all going to be over real quick. And that's what this Build article is. It's and I want our people to know we're not the only ones saying it now.
Yeah, this is
reality.
From Germany.
The reality is so overwhelming that we're not making a prediction. That it's like, a boulder has rolled to the edge of a cliff, and you're saying that's going to fall off any minute now. You're not predicting it. It's
Yeah.
inevitable
Yeah.
by physics. So go ahead, next one. Just that shows the atmosphere.
This is the destruction of the team, the 24
Yeah.
man team or
And
whatever.
it's interesting. He said there were two teams, so two 11-man teams. Look, they're built like the U.S. Special Forces A team is usually 11 men. So this was two 11-man teams. You can see that guy. He's not one of your force conscripts. He looks like a Ukrainian special operator. He was captured. This
The
was
only one that survived, right?
He's the only one that survived, and
Yeah.
this was just just such a senseless loss of life, and it was a panic. I'm getting this from an on the ground source. There was so much anger and frustration that Pakros was being lost, that apparently at the big command meeting with the generals and Syrskyi, and I believe Zelensky was zooming in, video teleconferencing in. The intel guy was like, and sir, they're about to close the encirclement, the only corridor open. And he said that can't be done. Stop it right now. There's no way to stop it. Send in our best guys. They'll be able to do it. So they just on the fly sent two teams of their best guys into, they weren't alive for more than a few hours on the ground, but they never had a chance. They were just sending them to a house on the edge of town, surrounded by fields itself, which, these guys are light infantrymen too. Every special operator is really a light infantryman also. So you get on the ground, shoe leather express, you have no vehicles, no aircraft covering you. They must have known it right away. And again, this is a broken command and control system. And Zelensky's in charge of it. And it's another example of what's happened to the Ukrainian military.
Wow. Sad. Sad for those soldiers. You hate the line in Patton, the movie. What a waste of fine infantry.
Yeah. And that's people need to say that, and these influencers need to be ashamed of themselves, because these guys are dying. They're dying horrifically. They're dying every day. And it should tug your heartstrings to double down for a solution, not double down to try to keep it going.
The war just needs to end. I mean, you've got MERS and the UK, all of them just salivating. Poland, Tusk, just salivating for a major war with Russia. They're obviously told to do that, and we'll talk about that. But this is Zelensky in Greece. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, no. Well, we said it. He went to Greece first, and again, why would he go to a country with no money? Because Greece said, "Hey, we can take you tomorrow." He needed to get out of Ukraine fast. But again, Pakros is collapsing right now. So is Uyepuye down south. So is Kupiansk up north. Dnipropetrovsk is about to fall. Also, these big towns are falling. Zaporozhye falling. And look where he is. He just on the fly went to Greece, then he went to France. I'm not sure where he is in Europe, but each of the leaders has agreed to take him for a day, and he's just running around talking to them. So next slide.
Well, there's something I want to say about that. Umarov, who was the former defense minister who got sent to the UK to work with the Admiralty to keep the war going, he doesn't want to come back to Ukraine. He's in the US. I mean, literally, he's like, I'm not coming back. So just amazing.
Yeah.
This is Syrskyi.
Yep. And it's just, again, a great example of what's broken. He's the top general. This was a couple of days ago. And he just won't admit that, Pakros was about to fall. And, just to give our viewers who aren't, haven't been in military in combat, think about, it's common sense to tell the truth, because he's telling his guys, hey, you're wrong. These guys are right. You're not about to be overrun. Hang in there, which makes no sense. It's a law of physics. They're done. They have no way to get out, and they're surrounded by thousands and thousands more men than they have inside there. But it's senseless, because everything right now should be about escaping and evading. And if it was me, I would not be trying to escape and evade through that corridor. I would be going right through their lines. The Russians, we see the Reds surrounding Pakros, but they're not joined hand to hand with each other. These guys need to split up and start hauling ass with a plan. A massive fish hook. Go toward the Russians, then swing around and come through them again. But that's the only way out of there. And when you deny and when you pass false intel, you just exacerbate the situation instead of giving yourself any chance of getting out of it. So that's Sierski. Zelensky was saying the same thing.
So here is I forget what this guy's saying.
Yeah, he's saying we need to let's put chips in these armed forces personnel so they can't escape. But I put that up there because I know, think about it. So now you got a guy who doesn't want to fight with a chip in his butt. He's still going to die. He's still not going to fight. They don't get it. This is what you call blind obstinance.
They'd probably be cutting that chip out of his butt. His buddy,
exactly, like, hey, but he's so blinded by his own emotion about hatred that he's coming up with a solution. The fact these guys, and so a statistic just came out. Ukraine released it. They're about to have the same number of deserters as they have in the military. Which is 500,000 or something like that. So that's everybody. We bring it up every show because it's the people saying this war doesn't make sense. The only people saying the war makes sense are in Europe and the U.S. No one in Ukraine is, and certainly the guys who have to go fight it aren't. But you have guys like this just to show you how horrible it is for these Ukrainian citizens who know what the right thing to do is, but are being told you're going to the front and you're going to die. So
it's horrific. This is Orban saying.
Just love the quote. Love the quote. It resembles trying to help an alcoholic by sending him another case of vodka.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Anybody who is thinking about should we give more money to Ukraine, that's the quote to bring up.
Then we have, this is the Umarov.
Yermak.
No, that's Yermak. Yeah.
Yep. He's his assistant. He lives with him in a bunker. They have a bunk bed or something.
I'm hearing it's a very tight relationship.
I'm hearing that too. They're like this. And
spooning every night.
Yeah, and look, same thing. You and I have talked about this before. No one cares about that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that while you're commanding and controlling, 1 million men on the battlefield, that you are committing dereliction of duty.
Yeah. Everybody else doesn't get to do that.
Right. So it just doesn't make any. Travels with this guy this guy follows him. He's with him right now in Europe, but he's also been named as big part of the corruption scandal, which that's like saying your Siamese twin is part of it, but we don't know if you are yet. He's part of it. And so, but this guy is the guy who is his special assistant and follows him all around. And right now they're out of country, so it's something to follow to see if they even go back in.
Yeah. So here we have, I can't read
this is your point about Germany.
Oh, yeah. So you can read that, but they just want a war.
Yeah. If I imagine this is, and he's been a hawk the whole time, Pistorius, in an interview, and we have always said that it could happen in 2029. However, though there are those who believe it could happen as early as 2028. So kind of like, Sierski and the false intelligence, this guy knows they're trying to survive this leftist, non-populist administration. So they're trying to suck money in the name of defense to keep their machine going, their graft machine going. But they also know they need to hide reality from German citizens.
Yeah.
The German economy is hard broke. Its backbone is broke, the manufacturing sector. And their energy sector, they've sacrificed, they've committed hara-kiri on energy self-sufficiency. So they have to cover it up. They have to distract the populace. But this is just, I mean, for him just to say that stuff, openly is hard to believe in today's world. And that's, again, comes back to why Trump needs to come out and take a strong stand on normalization of relationships with Russia.
Trump would gain a lot of his mojo back if he did that, I think.
I agree.
So.
I agree.
All right, here's the new false flag that says there is sabotage in Poland. We have to go to war with Russia.
Yeah. So to our viewers, Todd sent me yesterday this fire and brimstone speech by Tusk from Poland, basically threatening war. We got to go to war. They're now in our country, sabotaging our infrastructure. This is the sabotage. So you always got to just ask common sense questions. Why would Russia infiltrate a special ops team to cut an 18-inch section of railroad track on a random Polish railroad train track?
Yeah.
What good would that do? What, even in their most diabolical, the train didn't even derail. That's the train on top of it. Because if the cut isn't big enough, a train can just keep going as long as they're aligned. So the train didn't even derail. But they're using it as another example. The Polish Minister of Defense, after you sent me that note from Tusk, came out and said, look, this is it. They're active. They're actively trying to get us into the war. And just for our viewers, this is how preposterous these lies and propaganda are. And all of them, when you just ask a few common sense questions and use your senses to make sense, eyes, ears, nose, touch, you realize how senseless these things they're saying the propaganda is. And it's dangerous, but knowing that it's propaganda is the first step to defeating it.
So I've got the video of a short one with Trump that you sent me, and also the journalist in Donbass. That's what's left.
Yeah, just do the journalist in Donbass at the 6-minute mark of that.
Okay, let me get it to the 6-minute mark.
Yeah. This is Patrick Lancaster, great on the ground reporter in the Donetsk region.
All right, here we go.
He's from Donetsk.
Why isn't there any audio? Huh. Oh.
Yeah, just done. It's okay. This is a Ukrainian soldier.
Showing how he's dead. He's admitting defeat and admitting he's done. But his friends are trying to get him to safety.
Look at the area around him.
Says he'll come back for him.
That's
really?
what we've lived through.
Don't even think about blowing yourself up, because that's something that's fairly common. Is when the soldiers are done. I mean, regardless of what side of what war. I mean, it's seen over and over again. The soldiers, they all carry one grenade, and that's standard. Not necessarily for hitting the enemy, but for ending it yourself. So you're not taking it captive, or not just.
So that was a guy getting captured, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and so I wanted our viewers. No, he's not getting captured. Those are all Ukrainians. I want them to see that battlefield. They're sitting in that trench. They've been there, to do that to the trees around your area. Probably over 1,000 shells have landed around them. Mm-hmm. The guy who's in the trench, who he's saying, I'm going to kill myself, his elbow's broken and both his legs are broken from behind, compound fractures. And so I just wanted our viewers to see what we're talking about, to see what these guys, these poor souls are going through, why we just debate this, and the EU talks about how to keep it going along with the influencers, instead of all of us going, this is a worldwide humanitarian crisis and we can stop it, but we're not stopping it. And
Yeah.
so finally, I want to just read you a little bit from a Ukrainian soldier. He's not in Pakros, which is where that was from. This guy's in up in Dnipropetrovsk. And so he wrote this, which I think is worth listening to. The brigade is about to be withdrawn. The losses are terrible. I hope others are not facing the same. We are trying to hold the front. In the mean, all losses come from FPVs and CABs, which are fab bombs. No one has seen the enemy face to face. Sometimes snipers work, but that is rare. You come to war and get burned by an FPV or torn apart by a bomb. Who you are actually fighting, no one knows. This is how it is everywhere. Here, the one who survives is the one who digs deeper and doesn't stick his head out unnecessarily. I always tell the newcomers to stay deep in the ground and not test their luck. But the irony is that the longer you fight, the more willingly you stay underground, and the less you fought, the more often you stick your head out, whether you need to or not. That's why only the old hands survive. Many are afraid they might get buried underground, but that's only likely if the bomb or the artillery hits directly. The chances are low. More likely, a drone will fly into your trench and tear your skull or chest apart with its payload. Another fear is the groin artery is ripped. That's the carotid artery. The chances of survival are small, but at least it isn't very painful. The wounded sit in a thinker's pose and wait for death. It comes to everyone sooner or later. Some people came and said not to spread information about this situation to the brigade. Good thing no one knows I run this channel. They'll be surprised. Without truth, there will be no victory. Remember that. So, again, just to leave our viewers, it's a horrific war. What's happening to these guys is horrific. Everyone should be in agreement. It needs to stop as quickly as possible. And unless we keep seeing that and thinking about those guys and thinking it in that context, we're not going to get to that point.
Well, and that's why we have to be really loud, no matter what, to say in this crap. I mean, it's not helping anyone. Not helping Ukraine at all. We've said that many times. Pete, thank you very much. Really wonderful wealth of information. Thanks for coming on today.
Yep. Thank you, Todd. Take care.
You didn't have anything else you wanted to get out, right? You're done?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Take care, my friend. We'll see you next time. Bye.